This episode brought to you by Stamps.com. Why go to the store to get stamps when you can have them printed right at home for your convenience? Yeah, trying something a little different again. When you see a good-looking movie star, it's not usually a surprise why they've risen through the ranks of Hollywood. Not at all to say there wasn't a ton of hard work and sacrifice involved. I mean, there are a lot of pretty faces in entertainment. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't more interested in the success stories that weren't as traditional. The oddballs, the weirdos, the ones who took what seemed to be a niche audience and transformed it into a mainstream audience. Not that other big-name stars don't have great stories, I'm just more interested in people who changed less around the industry and more changed the industry around them. So I wanted to try a series studying the work of these people. Not a full-on biography, in fact I won't focus much on their personal lives unless they tie it into their career, but a look at the body of work that made them interesting and attracted so many people in such an unconventional way. With that said, I want to look at one of the biggest influences I had growing up, Jim Carrey. Yes, I know I've taken some jabs at him in the past, but truth is, I was obsessed with this guy growing up. He represented everything every kid wanted to be, zany, loud, and wildly over the top. It was almost like he spoke a language that only children and those who remember what it was like to be children understood. Dismissed by many, but loved by even more, Jim Carrey would grow over the years to show he wasn't just a passing fad, but rather a unique talent that tapped into something every energized person who dreams of being a human cartoon character could relate to. Before we look at his rise to fame though, let's see where this literal rags to riches story started. Born in Newmarket, Ontario, Jim had dreams of being an entertainer before he even hit double digits. Before the age of 10, he would stare into the mirror and practice making funny faces, stretching his muscles and giving an awareness of his expressions. This is something I totally didn't do when I was a child and in no way can sadly duplicate some of his gestures. Like I said, I was a little obsessed. His family hit hard times though when they ran into financial troubles and ended up all living together in a Volkswagen van. Down by the, you know the drill. Jim eventually decided at the age of 16 to drop out of school and start his life as a comedian, while also working as a janitor at some factory jobs. His years of practicing in front of the mirror had paid off as he became a master of facial impressions. This was getting him constant work and even landed him a performance on Johnny Carson. Jim knew though he didn't want to just imitate big entertainers, he wanted to be a big entertainer. So he revised his stand-up to include no impressions and rely solely on his wild energy and physical humor. He even went so far as to write himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, to be cashed 10 years later in 1995. Whether he would make it or not, he was going to do everything humanly possible to achieve it. Jim eventually got himself an agent and started booking movies and shows. Like many performers starting out though, he had to play against his strengths. He was usually casted as what's commonly known as the straight man. The person reacting to all the zany people around him, but not being especially zany himself. Projects like The Duck Factory, Once Bitten, and Peggy Sue Got Married were decent work, but not exactly a showcase for what he could do. He did become friends with several big names like Clint Eastwood, Rodney Dangerfield, and Nicolas Cage. He even made this sculpture based on him. That's just fantastic. One of the friends he made was Damon Wayans when he worked on the film Earth Girls Are Easy, perhaps one of the top 3 most 80s movies ever made. Seriously, this film needs more love. And he introduced him to Keenan Ivory Wayans, who gave Jim arguably his biggest break on the 90s Fox show In Living Color. There's several reasons why this show helped him stand out so much. 1, it allowed him continually to try out different characters and ideas. 2, it was a weekly show that allowed people more exposure and familiarity with his talents. 3, he was surrounded with some of the most talented and energized personalities in television at the time. And 4, he was the only white dude on the show. That made it pretty easy to get noticed. Now this is one of the funniest shows I can remember growing up with. Hell, I even have the entire DVD collection. But if you're someone that, say, types hashtag cancel blank many times in your life, this isn't the series for you. They had a Mexican version of the Rocketeer who uses his leaf blower as a jetpack. 2 gay men of which one of them is hit on the head and is suddenly turned straight. And Handyman...
That's okay, son. Never underestimate the powers of the handicap.
He's just not going to work.
But like many things of the past, it's a time capsule, a way to see what people found shocking back then, and in many respects even more shocking now. While much of the humor was race-related, it wasn't a requirement. Keenan Ivory was very kind in letting many of the performers write their own sketches, and Carrey penned ones just as funny as the rest of the crew, including famous characters like Fire Marshal Bill and Vera DeMilo, Mr. Rogers harassing people but nobody believes it because it's Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers made lewd comments to us. Mr. Rogers attacked me.
Mr. Rogers kicked my ass.
And maybe my favorite, a guy hypnotized to cluck like a chicken. The hypnotist dies before he can switch him back, ruining his life because now that's all he can say.
For the love of God, please hear me. I'm starving. I want a burger.
Hollywood finally took a chance on this very strange but seemingly popular funny man and offered Jim a movie to star in. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective is a common name now, but was a bigger risk back then than people realize. As we've seen in many SNL movies, just because someone's shtick is popular on a sketch show doesn't mean it'll be popular on film. And this was Carrey's material in full swing. Every movement, action, and word was completely over the top, loud, or dirty. There hadn't been anything quite this, well, childish in cinema for a long time. He went all in and knew a lot was riding on it. As he said in one interview, everybody says this is either going to be a big hit or really stupid. There's no in between. At first, it looked like the latter, as critics, not surprisingly, ripped it apart. Gene Siskel even called it the worst film of the year. Alec Baldwin once described the movie as dog food. Yeah, weren't you in these? But the film was a sleeper hit, pulling in $107 million against a $72 million budget. And while I can't defend the film, I can't act like I don't see why either. Everyone at my school, including myself, was quoting this movie before it even came out. It drilled directly into that primal silly that kids and some adults love to immaturely indulge. I describe the performance as an adult who knows he's going to get fired or a kid who knows he's going to get punished and doesn't give a shit. It's so big and so loud, there's something almost envious about it. And at the time, nobody had ever seen anything quite that over the top. Since then, tons of comedians have tried to do something similar, whether you see that as a good thing or not. But clearly, it left an impact. Enough for Carrey to get another big film, one of the first to use state-of-the-art CG animation for laughs instead of thrills, The Mask. Based very loosely on the comic series, Carrey gave, in my opinion, his best performance. Oh, not the zany cartoon character come to life, though that was totally fine. I mean Stanley Ipkiss. Carrey said he didn't want people squirming in their seats saying get to the mask already, so he tried to bring an awkward but still likable charm to the performance that he based mainly around his father. While I do like Carrey as an actor, I will say I do always see him as an actor. I see a good performance, but it's still a performance I see. Stanley Ipkiss somehow feels really genuine. It feels honest in a strange way. He does make faces and weird mannerisms, but so does the real Carrey.
$450 for the mask?
Sure.
Sure.
Who else would make a face like this when he's just thinking? It's just the sort of guy he is, and that's the kind of guy I see in this performance. A guy who watches a lot of cartoons and therefore would have big reactions to things, but is also very nice even if at times he's very unsure about himself. From everything I've heard about him, this feels the most authentic. The mix of effects in his performance paid off again, with The Mask being a gigantic hit, resulting in his paycheck going from $450,000 to $7 million with his next film, Dumb and Dumber. A drop in the bucket next to the over $240 million the film grossed. Jim was suddenly one of the biggest stars in the world. Everything he touched seemed to be a hit. And people were willing to pay out the, well, you know. He was even being attached to big hit franchises like Batman Forever, which after the reception of the previous film, this series needed him to bring people back into the seats. Ace Ventura 2 made double what the last Ace Ventura made, though he did have a slight scare with the cable guy, as a lot of people saw the film as too dark for him. Yes, imagine, a dark Jim Carrey movie. Can't have that. I've done a whole video talking about this, but I think people have opened up more on this film thanks to the internet exposing just how many people there really are like this. But even that didn't send him back very far, as his follow-up, Liar Liar, was another monster smash. By 1995, Jim made more than what he promised himself in his check 10 years earlier. In fact, when his father passed away, Jim actually put the check in the casket with him, as a way to say thanks for supporting him and giving up his own creative dreams to support the family. What was once seen as a pipe dream had now blended with the real world, as Jim was one of the biggest stars in the world, putting his handprints outside the Chinese theater, asked countless times to appear on talk shows, having several movies in a row be #1 at the box office, and making far more than he promised himself years earlier. This rags to riches story seemed to result in this funny man's most lavished and wonderful dreams finally coming true. So now what? It is a beautiful day, is it not, Mark?
Right you are, Ken. A beautiful day for Stamps.com.
Do you think the logo will be able to stay a logo by the end this time?
We'll just have to find out, Ken. And there it goes!
It seems to be doing a good job staying a logo.
Right you are, Ken. This is already quadruple the previous time.
Well, what do you expect, Mark? Let's face it, taking trips to the post office is probably not how you want to spend your time.
Right you are, Ken. That's why we recommend mailing and shipping online at Stamps.com.
Stamps.com allows you to mail and ship anytime, anywhere, right from your computer.
That's right. Send letters, ship packages, and pay a lot less with discounted rates from USPS, UPS, and more.
Amazing. It's still staying a logo.
This is unprecedented, Ken. Unprecedented.
Well, Stamps.com has saved businesses thousands of hours and tons of money.
Right you are, Ken. With Stamps.com, you get the services of the post office and UPS all in one place, plus big discounts on mailing and shipping rates.
I can't believe it is staying a logo that long.
This is like telling water to stay frozen in the desert. It doesn't seem possible.
Well, Stamps.com has been practicing bringing the service of the U.S. Postal Service and UPS right to your computer.
I hear Stamps.com is a must-have for any business, whether you're a small office sending out invoices, an online seller shipping out orders, or even a giant warehouse sending thousands of packages a day. Stamps.com can handle it all with ease.
The crowd is going wild for how long that logo is staying a logo.
Yes, you remember that one time it was a peach?
No, I think that was just a peach.
You're right, my bad.
The two are very easy to confuse in terms of practicality.
That's right, simply use your computer to print official U.S. postage 24/7 for any letter, any package, any class of mail, anywhere you want to send. Once your mail is ready, just schedule a pickup or drop it off. It's that simple.
With Stamps.com, you get discounts up to 40% off post office rates and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates.
Not to mention Stamps.com is a fraction of the cost of those expensive postage meters.
Oh wait, Mark, we are seeing a little bit of a change here, and he became a goat!
Oh, but now he's back. Wasn't that exciting?
I don't think I've ever seen a Stamps.com logo become a goat.
You don't get out enough, Ken, but Stamps.com is a no-brainer, saving you time and money. It's no wonder nearly 1 million small businesses already use Stamps.com.
I'm still getting over that goat thing, Mark.
Why don't you tell them about the special offer, Ken?
Good idea. Stop wasting your time going to the post office and go to Stamps.com instead. There's no risk, and you can use the promo code Nostalgia to get a special offer that includes a 4-week free trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts.
Right you are, kid. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Nostalgia. That's Stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Nostalgia for your special offer today.
It looks like the Stamps.com logo has finally turned into bananas.
It is the common process, Ken, which is why it's best to use Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again.
Do you think I'll ever see anything as amazing as that goat transformation?
No, Ken, no. You only get one life.
I'm sad.
I'm sad for you.
Hey folks, guess what? I'm finally gonna start playing Kingdom Hearts on Twitch. A lot of people have been asking me to play it. I'm finally gonna do it for Disney December, and you can tune in and watch it from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can also see us other times 6 days a week. Hope to see you there. At the age of 35, Jim Carrey had accomplished in his career what many don't accomplish in a lifetime: fame and fortune on an unprecedented level by entertaining others. What do you do after you achieve your goal? What was after Happily Ever After? He was still seen by many as too over the top and not to be taken seriously. So, since he challenged himself as a comedian, why not challenge himself as a dramatic actor? In 1998, Jim did The Truman Show, his first dramatic role. Ahead of its time in terms of subject matter, Jim played the role as a lighthearted Ned Flanders who discovers his entire life is a lie for other people's enjoyment. A lot of folks were shocked that he could do drama, but honestly, was it that big a surprise? I mean, you look at scenes like in Dumb and Dumber when he talks about being tired, and it's totally believable. Again, watching Stanley Ipkiss, I can totally see a guy like this doing something more down to earth. It's a good job, I just never found it shocking that he could do it. Still, he got a lot of critical praise, a Golden Globe, and was said to be a shoo-in for an Oscar.
And the Academy. I'm sorry, I was thinking of something else, and
but never got nominated. He made light of this when he was presenting the award for Best Editing.
Winning the Oscar is not the most important thing in the world. It's an honor just to be oh God.
But this might be the last time you see Jim Carrey as just a funny man, as this was the beginning of Jim Carrey, artiste. You see, the next film he did was Man on the Moon, the Andy Kaufman story. I did a whole episode talking about this movie, and while Jim no doubt turned in a good performance, his antics for staying in character were, for lack of a better term, no, this is the better term, goddamn crazy. He would harass people on set, delay shooting, physically and mentally abuse people, all because he claimed Andy Kaufman took over his body.
I didn't know what was real and not real.
I'm not angry because I want to try to not give you support. Too late! Too late! He's an asshole.
I did a whole video talking about this as well, but despite all the attention he tried to get out of it, the information was hidden from the public until a documentary was made about it years later. The reason I bring this up is because this is the beginning of Jim probably taking things a little too seriously. He would still do light comedies like Horton Hears a Who, Bruce Almighty, Me, Myself, and Irene, but he was also doing films like The Majestic and The Number 23 and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Not that these are bad movies, I love Eternal Sunshine, and I don't think Number 23 deserves as much hate as it gets. But the performances were coming across less like he wanted to do what was best for the film, and more he wanted to be accepted as a deep human being. He even threw a tape recorder rehearsing for Eternal Sunshine because he was too in character.
Shit. Sorry. I know.
That's not to say there weren't some good, even great moments that came out of it. I Love You, Philip Morris is uneven, but it does have some amazing moments from him. The same can be said for A Christmas Carol, which doesn't work as a whole, but still has some stellar reactions. And in my opinion, some of his funniest but also creepiest performances are when he's pretending to be other people in a series of unfortunate events.
Count Olaf.
Hello. Now why would you say something like that?
But two things happened to Jim that in a lot of people's eyes started to take him down a few notches. One is, if his films did well, the word if being unheard of in the early days for him, they didn't exactly do great anymore. He didn't have that many blockbusters, resulting in what many consider his crowning achievement of what the hell were you thinking? Mr. Popper's Penguins.
Word.
This does not seem like a movie for what used to be one of the world's biggest stars. The second thing is, how do I put this? I guess Jim has had a political and spiritual awakening, talking more openly in interviews and talk shows about what he really thinks. This isn't bad per se, as a lot of people can talk about spiritual things in a very welcoming and wonderful light, and political commentary, if done well, can be very clever and very enlightening. But the sad thing is, even when you agreed with him, half the time he expressed it in an arrogant way.
Depression only happens when you don't accept what is, when you're playing a character, you know, in life. So when I tried to go back and play Jim Carrey, I got depressed.
You've made me very happy, so thank you for your time today, man.
No, actually, I didn't make you happy.
Right. I don't know who you've made happy, but...
No.
Look at this poor reporter who just wants to do her job and ask her bullshit questions. Jim's practically antagonizing her like, why haven't you reached my level of enlightenment yet?
They say they're celebrating icons inside.
Celebrating icons, boy, that is just the absolute lowest. Do you believe in icons? I don't believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist.
Jim, you got really dressed up for the occasion.
I didn't get dressed up.
Who did?
There is no me.
We
don't matter. We don't matter.
Oh, wow.
There's the good news.
Okay.
He would even sabotage movies he just shot. As when he did Kick-Ass 2, he told people not to go see it because a school shooting just occurred and he didn't want to support that level of violence. Yes, you better stop promoting these then. Or make sequels to them, I don't know. With that said, we do all have our personal bubbles that we live in. And given Jim's past and his open battle with depression, I do believe he's trying to do what he thinks is best. He dabbled more in his painting and sculpting, and honestly, they're not that bad. In fact, sometimes he finds just the right thing to say to just the right people, and it can leave a huge impact.
I can tell you from experience, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is. Your need for acceptance can make you invisible in this world. Risk being seen in all of your glory.
This way of thinking, big surprise, would also play a big part in his acting. He took on more complex roles like the series Kidding and even a silent part in The Bad Batch, a criminally underrated movie. But he also would return to his goofy roots with films like Dumb and Dumber 2 and Sonic the Hedgehog. Both of these, whatever you think of them, are no doubt a full comeback to what made him explode in the early 90s. Even his impressions are making a comeback, with him performing on SNL, probably the best Joe Biden I've ever seen. Who made dog food now, dipshit? Carrey once said he wanted the strangest box set any actor has ever had. And with his long line of work with such a bizarre acting career, he might just achieve it. Through his ups and downs, there will always be a part of me that loves Jim Carrey. He was the first actor to make me think there's an art to being childish, there's an importance in embracing silly, there's a large audience that understands the freeing nature of going as big as you can. He's also shown he's more than just a passing fad or a goofy clown. I don't want to give the wrong impression that I'm against any of the soul-searching he's preaching, because there is a lot of great thinking behind it. On The Grinch, Carrey said he was so focused on being centered because every part of his body was covered, including his eyes, that you could hit him with a baseball bat and he'd still smile and nod. When you compare this to how Mike Myers moved in similar makeup, you can tell that focused concentration made a big difference. And that's not the focus of someone who just wants attention. That's the focus of someone who has to dive deep inside himself and bring something of value to the surface. As another goofball on an over-the-top journey who can get lost in his own bubble sometimes, I see great value in Carrey's career. I mean, this guy is almost 60 and he still moves with more energy than most of us watching ever will. I can't point to how many actors afterwards have taken from his facial expressions, physical comedy, and line delivery. He practically created a whole new genre of comedy. Whatever he does next, there will always be a part of me that's interested. He's come way too far and made way too big an impact. He's the everyman who became the wild man we all wish we could be. And I think most of us are thankful for his work, as well as intrigued by what comes next in this most unique of careers. I'm the Nostalgia Critic guy, remember, so you don't have to.
Mr. Rogers kicked my ass.
Hey, Doug Walker here, doing the charity shout out. The one this week is once again a recommendation, thank you so much, and it is Catholic Charities. Founded more than a century and a half ago, man, that's a long time. Catholic Charities is one of the largest, most comprehensive human service agencies in Northern Carolina, reaching more than 32,000 individuals a year. Catholic Charities plays a pivotal role in keeping neighborhoods diverse, productive, and safe and healthy. Catholic Charities creates lasting, data-driven solutions to some of the most pressing challenges: homelessness, aging and isolation, generational poverty, HIV/AIDS, inequality, and immigration, just to name a few. With a 4-star rating on Charity Navigator, this is a really, really good one to look into. As you can hear, they've been around a very, very long time. Definitely check them out. And, again, just thank you all so much for the charities that you've been recommending. If you have any that you think should get more attention, please feel free to list them for us, and let us know, because, again, there's so many good people that just do so much good stuff, and they should get as much attention as possible. So check them out if you can, and thank you so much.